Judge Moore. This is Alex Newman speaking from the New American.
Yes, sir.
Hey, is now a good time still?
Well, let me ask you. Can I talk in here? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. I know you're super busy, so I won't take any more of your time than necessary, just maybe the next 15 minutes or so. So why do you think the establishment and Mitch McConnell are attacking you in particular?
Well, I think they know what Mitch McConnell said in the July 2nd of 2017 CNN report that with a difficult, or what they said there is with a difficult system already, didn't want a conservative rebel in the GOP conference. It's already difficult to manage. So he obviously doesn't want somebody, he wants somebody he can manage. And he knows from my past, my history, that they don't manage me. So I'm not controlled by special interest. I don't receive PAC money, and generally my reputation is based on what I've done, not what I say I'll do.
Okay, very good. And why are you the best person to represent Alabama in the U.S. Senate?
Well, I'm a military academy graduate, West Point, fought in Vietnam, served in Germany and throughout the country, United States. I have a military background, I have a judicial background. I've not only been a lawyer, deputy district attorney, but a judge, circuit court judge, and the chief justice on 2 occasions. I understand the Constitution that all federal, state, executive, legislative, and judicial officers are sworn to uphold. And I think that's a very critical thing. I know, I won't say I'm an expert or, a scholar. I might have said that before, but, I know a little bit about the Constitution. And I know that we're not following the Constitution, and people don't even regard it generally in Washington, D.C., and I think that needs to be brought back, an understanding. So I think I'm the best because I have qualifications for the job, and also because I've taken stand on principles on which this nation was founded.
Wonderful. And so you actually got to one of my questions before I asked it. What is your position on the U.S. Constitution? Is it or is it not being followed? And if it's not, what are some examples that you might make priorities in your time in the Senate?
Well, I mean, when the American public thinks that whatever the Supreme Court says is the supreme law of the land, that shows our ignorance of the Constitution. A court opinion can never be law. It's only exemplary of the law of the case, the law applied to a specific set of circumstances. When we, like in Obergefell, and the court ruled and automatically across the country said it was the supreme law of the land, they neglect what the definition of the supreme law of the land is. Under Article 6, it's this Constitution, the laws of the United States, made in pursuance thereof, no treaties made or shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or the laws of any state, to the contrary notwithstanding, which means basically that state judges, like federal judges, are obliged to understand and know the Constitution and to follow it. And if they, as most state judges do, think that's the job of the federal government, then they don't understand their own job. So we've got to bring back and understand the Constitution, and that judges who put themselves above the Constitution or putting themselves above the law should be impeached by Congress and removed by the Senate. And
Wonderful. And so, aside from impeachment, what other tools might the Congress have available to it to restore adherence to the Constitution, especially by the U.S. federal courts?
Well, they could change the jurisdiction under Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2, which states that the jurisdiction of the federal court, except for the original jurisdiction, can be changed by Congress, which means that if it's not original jurisdiction is that over ambassadors and is between states. And if it's not original jurisdiction, that original jurisdiction can be taken from the Supreme Court by Congress. And every federal district court and every appellate court serves at the pleasure of Congress. In other words, they're created by Congress. That doesn't mean Congress can't eliminate them. The only court that the United States Congress can't eliminate is the United States Supreme Court because it's specified in the Constitution. All other courts are creations of Congress.
Okay, very good. And what are some of the most egregious judicial decisions that you think are unconstitutional and that should probably be addressed?
Well, Obergefell is one, and that's completely unconstitutional. And that's not me saying it. That's Chief Justice John Roberts, Antonin Scalia, who's now deceased, Clarence Thomas, and Samuel Alito. They all said that the Constitution that basically had nothing to do with their decision. Their decision was based on pure feeling. And as in Dred Scott in 1850, opined that one strict interpretation of the Constitution according to fixed rules which govern the interpretation of laws is abandoned, and the theoretical opinions of individuals are allowed to control its meaning. We have no longer a Constitution. We're under a government of individual men who, for the time being, have the power to declare what the Constitution is, according to their own views, what they think it ought to mean. And that's exactly what's happening today. They're making up the Constitution as they go, not under Article 5, which is the power of the people to amend the Constitution, taking 3/4 of the states. Now it takes 5 lawyers. That's a severe warping of a form of government.
And what about Roe versus Wade? Was that a constitutional
Roe
decision?
versus Wade was not a constitutional decision, no.
Okay, very good. So a couple of questions about the race here. What do you make of Trump's endorsement of Luther Strange?
Well, our country's in a crisis. In 1776, Thomas Paine wrote in The American Crisis that these are the times of try men's souls. I think these are not only times to try men's souls, but the soul of our nation as well. The people know what I stand for, they know what I'll do, and they know that I'll stand on the principles upon which this nation was founded. All the money, power, and prestige of Washington and the folks there can't change the fact of how my opponent got appointed to the job, nor can it change the fact that the people of Alabama will elect the next senator for the United States Congress.
Okay,
this great state of Alabama.
And what about the Obamacare, the failure to repeal Obamacare by Mitch McConnell and the Senate Republicans? What does that say about Congress and the Republican establishment, if anything?
It's stagnant. Can't move. Stuck in the sand. They can't get anything done. Don't stand for anything. They just want to get by, and here you have the Democrats propose the Obamacare, and come along the Republicans and give a mandate to repeal it. If they don't repeal it, they do nothing. There is no power in the Constitution for the federal government to take over health care.
Okay.
It's not under Article 1, Section 8.
What are some other examples, if you don't mind, of things that the federal government is doing that are maybe violations of the Constitution or really bad ideas? If you have just a couple, 2 or 3 would be really good.
Well, basically, what are they doing consistent with it? You got Supreme Court making laws, and you got the Congress not making laws, but leaving it to regulatory agencies which have no regard for what they do, basically. And you have the president creating executive orders which they try to apply to all branches. It's ridiculous. They're not just as from that love of power and the proneness to abuse it, which predominates in the human heart, is sufficient to satisfy us of the truth of this position. So other examples, we got too many presidents wanting to start wars with everybody they don't like. And, Congress needs to face the music, and if they need to declare war, they should declare war. If they don't, they should get out. Okay.
Very good. I've seen that there's been a number of rather slimy attacks against you. Is there any that you find particularly outrageous that you'd like to respond to?
Well, when they attacked my wife and they attacked the foundation, which I ran and created, and completely distort the facts to say I got $1 million when I didn't. The 1099 show that. In fact, they show an average over 8 years of $67,000 and even less, because some of that was medical expenses or medical costs. So $67,000 a year is not much for somebody that could make a lot more.
Okay, very good. And what's your position on Trump's America First and Drain the Swamp kind of campaign slogans? Do you agree with those, and what might that mean in practice?
That slogan, maybe my campaign is a campaign to drain the swamp, because I'm trying to be part of it, or be not part of the swamp, but part of the United States Senate. And if I'm there, they certainly won't be somebody they can tell what to do.
Very good. And so I know I've only got a couple of minutes left. Is there anything that I haven't asked that you think is really important to hit on?
No, I think that we're well ahead in the polls, and they continue to attack with dishonest, which shows the unethical conduct of the United States Senate leadership. Dishonest to attack my family, my wife, and the foundation. That's ridiculous. All they know how to do is negative campaigning. They can't run on the credentials.
Okay, well, very good. That's all I had, Judge Moore. I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thank you so much. God bless you for your efforts, and I wish you the best of luck on Tuesday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks so much. Take care.